everybody, and welcome to the next map that I'm going to play, which is Felucia Mineral Basin. This is another map from the Battlefront Zero map pack, and as you can see, we are indeed on Felucia. There are quite a few mods out there that tackle, of course, this setting, and many of them actually really do look like each other, but contrast-wise and color-wise, this one does separate itself with being a little bit darker, a little bit more eerie, but it is a look I do really like. At first, I actually misread the title and thought it would say Mineral Base, and so I thought we would actually get a facility or a building in Felucia, whereas of course most of the Felucia maps are just battles on the water, and this is no exception to that. Now, I do really love the aesthetics. I think that the models of the clones are really cool. Also, the models of the droids. Unfortunately, this map does do something that I think is an absolute sin when it comes to map making in Battlefront 2, and it's something that I encourage every map maker not to do because it gives snipers an unfair advantage. But I will talk about that in a little bit. So you can see that there's a lot of openness in terms of the map itself. Spawn point 5 and 3 are remarkably close to each other, to the point where I don't know if that's going to do something to the balance. You can see that the clone or the droids have AATs. We have some walkers. We actually do have some heavy walkers as well. And you can see that definitely, I get the feeling that the CIS here has quite an advantage with all the spawn points being very close to each other, meaning it's going to be more difficult for us to capture them and hold them. Now, I can talk a little bit about the sin that I was talking about, what we can really not, well actually no, I'll have to wait and spawn as a sniper, even though you can also see what I kind of mean with a regular trooper. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. So actually, let's actually get into one of these ATRTs and do some damage here. Again, aesthetically, this might actually be one of my favorite Felucia maps ever, but I do think that there are better Felucia maps that have maybe battles on a more epic scale. And we're going to capture this. And the truth is also, I'm not too big of a fan of Felucia maps in general, mostly because it always feels like you're fighting over nothing. It's just this, you know, these dense alien plants. And in that sense, it sounds weird, but the EA Battlefront 2 actually has a really original concept there, where you actually have some forms of life there. You know, you have the farm area and buildings, and so there is, you know, a little bit more variety there. I think people can definitely recreate or find some inspiration of in this Battlefront.
A command post is now under hostile control.
So let's talk about what I meant with the sin. So, and I remember this also being on a particular Dagobah map, this issue, and that is the fog that creates an issue. So it is completely fine to actually have fog on your map to maybe, you know, make it run easier. But you cannot do, in my opinion, is this where if I am a sniper, I generally can look further texture-wise than units that can't. Back when I talked about that in Dagobah, people said like, but that's how snipers work. Then it's like, no, I'm not. People, I think, misunderstood what I meant. So if it's foggy, let's say there's very thick fog and you have a sniper rifle. If the fog is that thick, you still cannot see what is further ahead compared to everybody else. But this is a game, and this simply, again, you see it there, the objects just pop in. If there's a unit over there, and he's looking towards my way, and the world has not loaded in when he is looking at a regular distance, so let's say I would be a droid and I would be looking over there, there would be no way for me to actually see the enemy. But if the enemy is standing over there and has a sniper, the enemy can see me and can actually shoot me without me having a chance to fight back or even see him. This is, in my opinion, a cardinal sin and needs to be fixed. Luckily, there's only a handful of maps that have this, but I have seen this before, and I definitely do think that it needs to be needs to be fixed because it gives snipers an unfair advantage.
This is Sakura. How can I help?
Compared to, of course, the Tatooine Mosca, was it Mosgamore? Or Mosgamos, the Tatooine map. This also goes for a very open approach. Yeah, this time, of course, there are vehicles, which is something that I kind of missed in a Tatooine map, and is very much welcomed here. It actually makes me realize that there's almost no Felucia maps, maybe none at all, that actually have fighters in them to actually see the battlefield from up above. Oh boy. I have to admit too that again with the battle in the water, the theater of battle gets a little bit still. I mean, we're kind of been fighting in the water here for most of the time, and we could see that on the left flank it's kind of the same deal, and it's not necessarily the fault of the map itself. It's just, again, what I was talking about, where this is why I'm not a big fan of Felucia maps in general, because they mostly all kind of give the same experience. There's only a limited amount of like assets we can use, and most of the battles go for this, you know, war in knee-high water surrounded by all these plants. A great example, you have some Ubara maps that revolve around this base, and creators that made that Umbara map could have easily just used some of like the vegetation assets and have a battle play out in the forest, and you know, cover the whole map in those plants and trees, and you know, be done with it. But instead, you know, they made roads and they make it revolve around this facility, which makes it feel more varied, it makes it feel focused, and it makes it feel fresh. And that's something that I kind of miss here. This is probably, of the 3 maps that I've played up until now, in a Battlefront Zero map, probably my least favorite. Even though, again, I do have to say, aesthetically, I find it very, very pleasing. Aesthetically, it's probably the best one yet. I'm really a big fan of the coloring, where usually I like more like brighter maps, but the really stark contrast and the darkened tones is something that really fits Felucia well. Let's actually take a look at these spawn points, because we haven't really gotten a chance yet. I'm actually going for the spawn point that's over here to see how close exactly it is to the other one. And at the beginning of the video, I talked about balance issues, and you can definitely see what I'm talking about, where we have a huge loss in reinforcements compared to the droids. And yeah, I think this is one of those maps that needs a redo. And you know, again, with the aesthetics and like the idea is there. You know, this color tone is also beautiful, so there is a really good like base here, but I think you know, it needs to be worked out better, and that draw distance thing has got to go.
Lost control of a command post. Our second wave of troops is being depleted.
This is Sakura. How can I help?
Hostiles have gained a command post.
Oh my goodness.
The public can't spare any more reinforcements.
What is that guy doing? Oh. Got a little bit distracted by the flying ATRT, and I got killed by the creature there. Anyway, we're about to lose, so I'll do my end thing. If you want to download this map, you can download the map pack in the description down below. Don't forget to let me know any recommendations or requests on maps or mods you want to see on the channel. About to die. I'm standing still and they can't really do it. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.